I want to share with you today one of my absolute favorite recipes. It's called Melties. If you want to impress a bunch of friends over the next dinner party, this is the recipe to bring. Everybody's gonna think that you brought little cheesecakes and they taste like it, but guess what? No dairy, very little sugar, really healthy dessert that is also highly satisfying. So really just very few ingredients that we're gonna be using today. I'm gonna start off with coconut butter. Coconut butter is a really interesting product that I've noticed a lot of people don't know about it or don't really know what to do with it. Most of us are familiar with coconut oil, coconut milk, maybe coconut water, but not coconut butter. Before I forget, do not cook with this, like you do not want to put it through high temperature. Coconut butter is made out of the pulp of an old coconut, the white pulp, so it's not the young, fresh green coconut, it's the old brown coconut. Together with the oil that's in the pulp itself, all of that is ground up. So the oil is not extracted, right? It's not turned into milk. It's just the entire old coconut. Oil doesn't make it bad. It just helps to develop the white, beautiful pulp inside a coconut. One of my favorite properties about this is that it's definitely considered a healthy fat. One of the great things also, it contains caprylic acid, which helps with candida, yeast overgrowth, which 70% of women I know that I used to work with, always struggle with some form of candida. That included me. So we want to make this dessert into something really healthy and light and yet satisfying and kind of decadent. We're going to start off with the coconut butter. Our kitchen is rather cold right now, so it's important that the next ingredient that we'll put in is coconut oil that's just been melted, and it needs to be hot because that's what's going to melt our coconut butter. Next will be lime juice, and that's what's gonna give it that flavor that resembles a cheesecake. I got some freshly grated zest of lime, and then we're gonna be using some vanilla extract. Gives a beautiful flavor. One of the tricks of amplifying sweetness in any dessert is to use salt. So, as you know, we always want to use as little sugar as possible in our desserts, but we don't want to be feeling deprived, and so salt is a really great way. I'm just using a few pinches here. Lastly, we're going to be using either honey or coconut nectar. I'm using coconut nectar here, which is low in the glycemic index, is not processed. Just a wonderful food, a wonderful sweetener, one of my favorites. So let's give this a good stir. And if you find yourself in a cold kitchen, then what you want to do is we might need to pop this into a microwave just for like about 15 to 20 seconds to melt everything together. It's still a little bit lumpy, so we want to get rid of all the lumps. All right, so as you can see, this is the consistency we wanted. This is when you know it's done. Now, one of the things I want to just mention is that beautiful lime here. Part of the reason why I love using the zest is, well, from a culinary perspective, is a fantastic flavor that it adds in, like that zesty, strong, lemony, limey flavor, right? In all citrus fruit, there is a substance called D-limonene, which facilitates detoxification of the liver. So don't throw away the rind. Keep it either zested. This is one of the greatest tools you can have in a kitchen, is a little zester like this, microplane, right? And add it to salads, to dressings, add it to your baked goods. It's just really anything that requires lemon juice or lime juice. Don't forget the zest. That actually, the incredible healing properties come from the rind of the citrus and not just the juice alone. So the next thing we want to do is, I'm using this form with a mini, muffins. And so there is a couple of variations you have in the recipe for the Melties. One option is to use raspberries right at the bottom of our muffin pans. I'm just gonna put it right down here, and we're gonna cover them with our Melties. The other option that you have, you can do and/or actually, is using matcha tea and then stirring it in here. So those are the two options you can play around with from this recipe. Today, for simplicity, I'm gonna stick with making the Melties with just with the butter itself, without the matcha tea in this. Why would I use matcha? Well, first of all, it's gonna give the you can see that in the photos in the recipe. It gives the Melties a beautiful green, rich, sort of bright color. Because just look at the matcha product, you know, as a tea. It's just got this natural, beautiful green, bright color to it. But also, it's a slight stimulant, so there is caffeine in matcha. And so, you know, if it's a dessert you're bringing into a party, somebody sensitive to caffeine, you might want to be a little bit more cautious of that. I love matcha for also the variety of medicinal properties. One of them is it contains L-theanine, which actually calms us down. So it is caffeinated, but also calms us down. Pretty unusual property to have. For example, when you drink coffee, it's almost impossible for you to sit down and meditate. Matcha, on the other hand, is a tea that was used in Japan for meditating monks, to help them not to fall asleep and focus on meditation. But also, matcha tea was given to warriors who were going out there and fighting wars, to stimulate them and energize them. So a really interesting tea of having these both properties of calming us down, yet energizing us at the same time. Something that coffee wouldn't do for us. So let's dish out the coconut butter into our prepared muffins. The reason why I like to do this with the raspberries is because it creates a little surprise for somebody digging in to the Melty and be like, oh, and there's a raspberry right in there. You want to use a tiny bit less than a tablespoon per Melty. And I'm using the paper cups only because it's easier to get them out this way. And the Melties are done. Let's just pop that over to our freezer for about 20 minutes and it will be done. I'll show you in a second how it looks. And the Melties are out of the freezer. Just 20 minutes, that's all that is needed. You know, a lot of times whenever I decide to go and bring a little dessert to a dinner party, but without having the time to make something more complicated or time consuming, I just make these and it literally takes you about 20 minutes to prepare it, 20 minutes in the freezer and you're ready to go. Do feel free to experiment with different, you know, fruit in there. If you want to use maybe lemon juice or orange juice and orange zest, is perfectly fine. It just gives it like this, you know, just a little bit of a different twist. The quality of a limey like this is that it's gonna be melting in everybody's mouths. A wonderful, like a spring and summer dessert you're bringing into somebody's home. And that little raspberry that creates a surprise element when you bite in. It does taste like cheesecakes and you're gonna surprise every single person at the dinner party when you tell them, actually, there is no dairy in here. So bon appetit and have fun with it as much as I had making it.